Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we often think of the Quran in terms of daily prayers and rituals, but what if there's something much, much deeper going on? Today, we're diving into a perspective that sees the Quran as a precise, structured guide for a total inner transformation. So that gets you thinking, right? Is the Quran just a collection of verses we recite for different ceremonies? Or is there a hidden, deliberate structure in there designed for a single, powerful mission? Well, this perspective we're digging into makes a really compelling case that it's anything but random. It argues that the whole book is a unified, structured guide with one profound mission for every single one of us. Okay, so what is this grand mission? Well, it all kicks off with a foundational goal to establish absolute truth and to defeat every kind of falsehood. It all begins with this one declaration, La ilaha illallah, which means there is no God but God. Now, this isn't just a phrase you say. According to this view, it's an active command. It's a call to identify and then dismantle everything that's false in our lives and in the world around us. So this sets up a huge cosmic struggle between two core ideas, haq, which is the ultimate absolute truth, and batil, which is, well, everything else, all the falsehoods. And we're not just talking about old school idols here. Batil includes false beliefs, superstitions, and even those false fears and anxieties that can totally hold you captive. Okay, so when you realize how many kinds of falsehoods are out there, from our own insecurities to major societal problems, the whole thing can feel pretty overwhelming. So the big question is, where in the world do you even begin? And the answer this interpretation gives is super clear, really powerful, and honestly, maybe not what you'd expect. The answer is, it has to start inside you. The whole process begins with something called tazkiyah, which is the purification of the self. The logic is simple but profound. You can't possibly establish truth out in the world if you haven't first established it in your own heart. And this is where you really see that inside-out process take shape. The mission starts with you, with personal purification. From there, it naturally starts to expand and affect your immediate surroundings. And only then, once that foundation is solid, can it really start to change society on a larger scale. So, if the very first step is this deep inner work, how do you actually do it? Well, this perspective argues that the Quran itself gives us a very specific toolkit for this exact job. And that key, according to this interpretation, lies in this number, 30. It points specifically to the 30th and final part, or juz, of the Quran. A juz is just one of the 30 sections the book is divided into, so we're talking about the very last part. Now, this final section is seen as way more than just a collection of short chapters that are easy to memorize. It's presented as a powerful, divinely prescribed tool specifically designed for this purpose of self-purification and inner healing. And this is where things get really fascinating because it highlights this huge disconnect. On one side, you have how it's commonly used today, for quick prayers, at gatherings, for teaching kids. But on the other side is its intended purpose, to be this potent spiritual remedy, a tool for real self-healing. So, what happens when this tool is actually used the way it's meant to be? For the answer, this perspective points us straight to the first generation of Muslims, the companions of the Prophet, as the ultimate case study. The idea is that through this intense process of tazkiyah, all these destructive traits were basically scrubbed clean from their characters. Things like greed, arrogance, envy, and that paralyzing fear and despair, they were systematically purified and removed. And it's not like they just left a void. In place of all that negativity, a chain of powerful, interconnected virtues started to grow. And this wasn't just about becoming nice people. It was about building the deep internal foundation needed for a just, fair, and truly compassionate community. And check this out, it wasn't just a random list of good things, it was a chain reaction. It all started with this deep, unshakable certainty and faith. That certainty naturally leads to sincerity in everything you do. Sincerity then demands fairness. Fairness requires a system of justice to uphold it. And a truly just society at its absolute peak operates with compassion for everyone. See how they connect? All right, let's bring this all home. The main takeaway here is that this isn't just a story about the past. It's framed as a practical, living remedy that we can use in our lives today. And that's the absolute crucial point. This whole story of transformation isn't meant to be just a history lesson. It's presented as a real, actionable prescription for anyone today who's maybe feeling a little spiritually lost or disconnected. The advice given is incredibly direct and powerful. Treat the 30th jizz not just as scripture, but as a kind of spiritual medicine. It's a prescribed remedy for a heart that feels unsteady or full of doubt, something to be listened to and really absorbed. And so that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. If this whole journey to establish truth in the world really begins with purifying ourselves, then the first step for every single one of us is to ask, what are the falsehoods, the false beliefs, the false fears, the false ideas that we need to remove from inside ourselves first?